Once upon a time, there was a king who had 7 sons. He loved his sons deeply and could never bear to have them all away from him at the same time. To keep himself happy, he always insisted that one of them stay by his side. As the years passed, the 6 older sons grew up and often went out to court princesses. However, the youngest son, named Boots, was kept at home by the king, who entrusted his older brothers to find a bride for him. When the time came, the king gave his 6 older sons the finest clothes that sparkled so brightly they could be seen from far away. He also provided them with the most magnificent horses, each worth hundreds of dollars. The 6 princes set off on their journey, visiting many palaces and meeting numerous princesses. Eventually, they reached a kingdom where the king had 6 beautiful daughters. These princesses were so lovely that the princes fell in love with them immediately. Each prince courted one of the princesses and promised to marry her. But in their excitement and joy, they completely forgot about their promise to find a bride for Boots. The 6 princes and their princesses began their journey home. But on the way, they encountered a steep hill, so steep it looked like a wall. At the top of the hill was the house of a giant. As they approached, the giant appeared. He was massive and fearsome, and before the princes could react, he used his magic to turn them and their princesses into stone. The statues of the princes and princesses remained standing at the giant's hill, lifeless and cold. Back in the palace, the king waited anxiously for his sons to return. But days turned into weeks, and they did not come back. His sadness grew heavier with each passing day, and he said, "I will never know happiness again. If I had sent you too, Boots, I would have lost all my sons." But Boots was determined to go. He said to his father, "Let me go and find them. I promise to bring my brothers back." The king refused, saying, "No, I can't lose you too. If you go, you'll never return." Boots begged and pleaded until the king finally gave in. However, all the good horses had been taken by the older brothers, and the only one left was an old lame horse. Boots didn't mind. He saddled the horse and said, "Don't worry, father. I'll come back with my brothers." Then he set off on his journey. After traveling for a while, Boots came across a raven lying on the road. The bird was flapping its wings weakly and looked very hungry. Dear friend," said the raven, "please share some food with me, and I will help you in return." Boots looked at the bird and said, "I don't have much food, and I don't see how you can help me. But you look like you need it more than I do." He gave the raven some food and continued on his way. Not long after, Boots came to a stream where a large salmon was struggling in the shallow water. The fish was thrashing around, unable to return to the deeper part of the stream. "Dear friend," said the salmon, "help me back into the water, and I will help you if you need me." Boots hesitated and said, "I don't know how a fish can help me, but I can't let you die here." He gently pushed the salmon back into the water and walked on. A little later, Boots saw a wolf lying in the middle of the road, so thin that its ribs showed through its fur. The wolf looked up and said, "Dear friend, I'm starving. Please give me your horse to eat. If you do, I promise to help you when you need it." Boots was shocked and said, "First, I gave my food to a raven. Then, I helped a salmon back into the water. Now you want my horse? How will I travel if I give it to you?" The wolf replied, "Don't worry. I'll let you ride on my back, and I will be much faster than your horse." Boots thought for a moment and then said, Fine. You seem to need it more than I do. The wolf quickly ate the horse, then let Boots place the saddle on its back. Once Boots climbed on, the wolf ran so fast that the prince felt like he was flying. After traveling a long distance, the wolf said, "Here is the giant's house. Look, there are your 6 brothers and their princesses, all turned into stone. You must go inside the house and find the princess. She will help you defeat the giant." Boots was nervous and said, "I don't think I can face the giant. He will kill me." The wolf replied, "Be brave. Listen to the princess's advice and you will succeed." Boots entered the giant's house cautiously. The giant was not home, but in one of the rooms, he found the princess. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. When she saw Boots, she exclaimed, "Oh no, how did you get here?" "The giant will surely kill you," Boots replied. "I've come to save my brothers and their princesses. I will do whatever it takes to stop the giant." The princess sighed and said, "If you are determined, then we must come up with a plan. Hide under the bed and listen carefully to what the giant says. Whatever you do, don't make a sound." Boots crawled under the bed just in time, as the giant returned home. The giant sniffed the air and roared, "I smell human blood." The princess quickly replied. "A magpie flew in and dropped a piece of meat down the chimney. I threw it out, but the smell still lingers." The giant grumbled but said no more. That night, as they lay in bed, the princess asked the giant, "Where do you keep your heart? You don't carry it in your body, do you?" The giant growled, "Don't ask such questions. But if you must know, my heart is under the doorstep." Under the bed, Boots listened carefully and prepared himself for what lay ahead. The next morning, the giant woke up very early and left for the forest. As soon as he was gone, Boots and the princess started searching for his heart under the doorstep, as they believed it was hidden there. They dug and dug, but no matter how much they searched, they couldn't find it. "He's tricked us again," said the princess, sighing deeply. "But we must not give up. We'll try again." Determined, she gathered the most beautiful flowers she could find from the garden and scattered them over the doorstep before carefully replacing it. When evening came and the giant returned home, Boots quickly crawled under the bed to hide. He had barely managed to settle himself when the giant entered the house. The giant sniffed the air suspiciously. "Sniff, sniff. I smell human blood," growled the giant. His voice was filled with anger as he looked around, his eyes narrowing. "My limbs itch to find it." The princess calmly replied, "Oh, that scent?" A magpie flew into the house with a man's bone in its beak and dropped it down the chimney. "I did everything I could to chase it out, but I suppose the smell still lingers." The giant frowned but said no more about it. After a while, he noticed the flowers on the doorstep. His eyebrows furrowed in confusion, and he asked, "Who scattered flowers on the doorstep?" "I did," said the princess sweetly. "And why in the world would you do that?" asked the giant, his voice sharp with suspicion. The princess smiled and replied, "Because I love you so much, and I believed your heart was hidden beneath the doorstep." The giant laughed heartily. "You silly girl! My heart is not there at all." That night, as they were getting ready for bed, the princess asked him again where his heart was. She said she wanted to know because it would make her feel closer to him. "Well," said the giant, sighing heavily, "if you must know, my heart is inside the cupboard against the wall." The next morning, the giant left early once more to go into the forest. As soon as he was gone, Boots and the princess opened the cupboard and began searching for his heart. But just like before, they found nothing. "It's not here either," said the princess, disappointed. "He tricked us again. We'll have to try something else." She decided to decorate the cupboard with flowers and garlands, hoping to lure the giant into revealing the truth. When the giant returned that evening, Boots hid under the bed again. The giant sniffed the air as he entered. "Sniff! Sniff! I smell human blood," he growled, his voice full of suspicion. The princess quickly said, "Oh, it's the magpie again. It dropped a bone down the chimney, and though I chased it out, the scent must still be here." The giant grumbled but moved on. Then he noticed the flowers and garlands decorating the cupboard. "Who decorated the cupboard like this?" he asked, clearly annoyed. "I did," said the princess, smiling sweetly. "And why did you do such a foolish thing?" he demanded. "Because I love you," said the princess, "and I thought your heart was hidden there." The giant shook his head and said, "You'll never find my heart. It isn't in the cupboard." That night, the princess persisted again. She pleaded with the giant to tell her where his heart truly was. Eventually, the giant gave in. "Far away in a lake, there is an island," he said. "On that island, there's a church. Inside the church, there's a well. In that well, a duck swims back and forth, and inside that duck is an egg. My heart lies inside that egg." The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, the giant left for the forest. Boots decided it was time to act. He bid farewell to the princess and stepped outside the house, wondering how he would find his way to the island. To his surprise, the wolf was waiting for him. The wolf listened as Boots explained everything and said he needed to find the giant's heart. "Climb on my back," said the wolf. "I'll take you there." The wolf ran faster than the wind, leaping over hills, fields, and valleys. After days of traveling, they finally reached the lake. Boots looked at the vast body of water and hesitated. "Don't be afraid," said the wolf. "I will swim across with you." The wolf jumped into the water, carrying Boots on his back, and swam to the island. Once they reached the island, they found the church, but the keys to the door were hanging high up in the tower. Boots didn't know how to retrieve them. "Call the raven," said the wolf. Boots did as he was told, and the raven flew down. It picked up the keys with its beak and dropped them into Boots' hands. Boots unlocked the church and entered. Inside, he found the well. Just as the giant had said, a duck was swimming back and forth. Boots carefully lured the duck closer and grabbed it. But as he lifted it, the duck dropped the egg into the well. Boots was distraught. "How will I get the egg now?" he asked. "Call the salmon," said the wolf. Boots called the salmon, and it swam to the bottom of the well to retrieve the egg. When the salmon brought the egg to Boots, the wolf said, "Now squeeze it." As Boots squeezed the egg, the giant's scream echoed across the forest. "Squeeze it again," said the wolf. Boots squeezed harder, and the giant's cries grew louder. The giant begged for mercy. "Spare me. I'll do anything you ask. Tell him to restore your 6 brothers and their brides, who he turned to stone," said the wolf. The giant agreed and brought them all back to life. "Now break the egg," said the wolf. Boots crushed the egg, and the giant shattered into pieces. With the giant gone, Boots returned to the house, where his brothers and their brides were waiting joyfully. Together, they journeyed back to their father's kingdom. The king was overjoyed to see all his sons alive and well. "Boots has the most beautiful bride of all," he declared. A grand wedding feast was held, and the celebrations were so joyous that they lasted for days.